I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wonder what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Everywhere I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve.
Good morning, Robertson County. How are you doing? This is 1100 WSGI. I'm Utah LaVern, and this is One Street Over. Welcome to it. And if you are joining us on social media, I cannot monitor what you're saying this morning. I'll just tell you, I was in a class last night with my teaching education, and I signed into a different network, and now this one's not wanting to sign in. So if you send me a message, I won't be able to see it this morning, but we are here, and we are live, and we are having fun. Again, this is 1100 WSGI. I'm Utah LaVern. This is One Street Over. It's an opportunity for us to see what's going on. One street over from where you're living, and we know you are living right. Now, I have got something fun this morning. I have got a young man in the studio with me that, it's so funny because I teach audio-video broadcasting in Greenbrier. And so I'm always fussing at my students trying to get them to come in and be on the show with me. Well, I even told them, I said, okay, I'm going to be, we're going to be off for fall break. So why don't you guys come in and let's just see what's going on, and you can come in and talk to me. Well, they're like, no way, Miss Video, we're not going to get up that early and come in. And then I get a message from John Cohea. He says that, well, my cousin wants to come in and be on the show with you. And it is so funny because I can't get my own kids that are part of the program to come in, but yet John, who was one of my students last year, and his cousin says, well, I've seen John on there, and I've seen my dad on there, so I want to come on and be on the show. Alex, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well today.
I'm so tickled to see you. And this is Alex Castro. He is the son, if you remember, Danny Castro that came in that talked to us about the pickleball craze and the pickleball courts opening up. What's the name of your dad's where he works?
Summercrest in Ridgetop, Tennessee.
And so he was telling us all about that, and it was just so interesting. And I'm still Danny's out there, and I'm still so interested in finding out more about pickleball. But haven't had a chance to do it yet, but we're going to get there. And so we're talking about that, and I thought, well, it'd be fun to meet Danny's sons, because first question, and here's what's really interesting too. We want to do a spiritual segment, right?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
wanted to come in on Faith Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
And I had somebody booked already for tomorrow, because we got to do it while he is on fall break, because he's on fall break too.
For your porch and your home.
And so it just kind of worked out that we're going to do a Faith Friday segment here on Thursday, because we've got the United Way folks are out, and so we've got an hour.
And there you're going to
and rumor has it John might even up join us before the hour's over, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what made you want to do this?
Right here in Robertson County.
Well, I saw John doing it. I saw my dad doing it, and I just wanted to come on, try it. Seemed like this fun thing to do. So,
are you interested in broadcasting in some way, or are you interested because you figure your dad came on to talk about something happening in the community and those kinds of things? But this is a Christian broadcast station, so we are always, promoting the gospel and things that are faith oriented. And so you've seen John come on and do faith stuff. So which part of it is it just radio in general, or have you got a passion for a faith message? Or are you interested in ministry? How old are you? Let's just start there.
I'm 14.
Oh gosh, okay, you look a little bit older than that. So you're 14 years old. What is it that you have in your mind that you want to do when you get older?
Well, I don't really know, but I certainly do know that I have a passion for the gospel and getting the message out to the world, because that, in the end, is the overall aim of my entire life.
Awesome. Now you go to Pope John Paul.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Have you been there through your entire school? Where have you gone to school?
I've been there since 8th grade.
Since 8th grade. Okay. I had a lot of friends who went to Pope John Paul. My kids went to Good Pasture, and my kids, a lot of people, I'm teaching in the public school system, and they're like, well, why didn't you send your kids to public school? Pure, plain and simple, Jesus is welcome at Pope John Paul at Good Pasture. And I wanted that to be the focus for my kids. Not that we have Fellowship of Christian Athletes and all kinds of things we can do within the public school system, but it's not as prevalent. And so it was purely a faith thing, the reason why my kids went to Good Pasture. And I think it's probably the same with you guys at Pope John Paul. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, probably. My dad, he probably sent us there so we could get a more Christian education than if we were to just go to a public school.
Right. Now, do you play sports? Your dad's a tennis player, really good tennis player.
Yes, ma'am. I play tennis there, just like my dad, and then seasons haven't come around yet, but last year I also did wrestling and track. Okay.
Which is your favorite?
Probably track.
Okay. What's your, because track is a lot of things. Are you talking cross country, or are you into the field events? My husband was in shot put and disc and all that. So
I was a short distance runner. I ran the 100 and the 100 relay.
Are you fast?
That's pretty. I wouldn't say I am. I wouldn't say I'm not.
Okay. We're talking with Alex Castro. This is the son of Danny Castro that we had on radio a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, when they were opening the pickleball courts up at, and you tell the name of the place again. Summercrest. And he was talking about they were giving those dedicated pickleball courts, and just talks a lot about the sport and his history with tennis and all of those things. John Cohea is his cousin, who's been on this program a couple of times, one of my students. And so Alex is like, I want to do that. I want to give that a try. I want to get on radio. So here we are. And he originally reached out and wanted to do a Faith Friday segment. And I already had that book. So, this was the other day we had open. So I said, let's come in and let's do this. Since this is a Christian broadcast station, we always want to do something about faith. So what do you want to talk about? What message did you bring today that you wanted to bring and share?
Well, I didn't come with anything in
Okay.
particular prepared. It's just whatever you really want to
Okay.
get into.
Okay. Okay. Well, I love that. I love that because man, this is a passion for me. It's so funny. I went to a friend's house last night and picked up some a video series. I went to Don and John Hagen's house to pick up some stuff from Ray Vanderline. I love studying the text, the Bible text from the perspective of what it was originally written to. Okay. So, and it's a message that a lot of people your age seem to be very interested in. So, do you have a favorite way to study the Bible? I mean, what is it that just makes you passionate about the Word?
Well, I'll answer that last question first.
Okay.
So, because the Bible is God's word directly to us, the only proper response to it is to conform your life to it. So I really just approach reading the scripture in the sense that this is the most important thing that I can have here on earth that links me to God, besides my faith, of course. But my faith comes really from the Bible.
Okay. Okay. Well, and so do you have? Where do y'all go to church? Where do you attend church?
We go to First Baptist Church, Goodlettsville.
Okay. Do you have? Are you part of the youth group?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do you have? So who's your youth minister? Do you have? Is there some type of study that has happened, like where you've studied maybe Romans, or have you had a particular study that you've done in youth group that you're like, man, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Have you had something like that maybe just
I'm not in the youth group right now, but in church right now, we're actually doing a series on Romans, which I find really interesting because Romans, as a lot of past theologians have said, is really the crown jewel of the Bible, of the New Testament.
Okay. Why would you think that?
Because it's really it's a more systematic expression of all the ideals in the Bible. It really just brings them all into one.
Okay. Okay. And, that's one thing, because a lot of the things that I have been studying lately is talking about how that we have the letters were written with an agenda, right? Okay.
ma'am.
Have you ever heard, you figure Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, okay? They were all written to different audiences. Romans was, of course, written to who?
The Romans.
Right, of course. And it's so fascinating because you can see the different style of writing and how they wrote to the different audience. So you figure the Romans was written more to people who were coming out of paganism and those kinds of things. And so they look different than the things that were written to a more Jewish audience, right? Do you see that kind of stuff too?
Yeah, we see a particular instance of this in the Gospel of Matthew, in the genealogies, because Matthew's Gospel is written particularly to the Jews, and there's two genealogies in the New Testament: the Matthew genealogy and the Luke genealogy. The Matthew genealogy, which was written to the Jews, is the legal genealogy, and the Luke genealogy, which was written more to a wider audience, is the biological genealogy, which some people point out as a contradiction in the Bible, but I actually say that it's an aspect of the Bible that harmonizes it better.
Okay, because see, I have been doing some studies with. I mean, I see what you're saying, but it was written with a different intention. All of it was written with a different intention, because the Matthew gospel, where I've been studying it, was written more to, like you said, the Jewish audience.
Yes, ma'am.
And in a way to say, hey, Messiah's here and he's not what you were expecting, And just looking at the genealogy of Matthew, you see that things are included that don't need to be included. Number one, women. They wouldn't put women in a genealogy.
Like women in the genealogy that
Yeah.
really shook up the view that the Jews had at the time.
Right. For sure. For sure. This is fascinating. We're talking with Alex Castro. He's 14. He goes to school at Pope John Paul. He's on fall break. So he is here with us this morning just to share some things about his faith and to get a little taste of radio. He's seen his dad and his cousin do it, so he wanted to come in and give it a try as well. And I love that y'all just live up in Greenbrier, so y'all just right here local. So very good. Tell you what, let me pause for a second. I'm going to do a break. And if you have any questions, I'm sorry I can't see them this morning. Maybe if, I don't know if your dad's online out there watching my Facebook page, if anybody pops up any questions. But we're just going to continue to talk and enjoy just visiting this morning and hearing about, I want you to be thinking about something while I take a break, Alex. Talk to me about, there's a lot of people we're concerned that we're not hanging on to our young people. I mean, this is probably something you hear in church a lot.
Yes.
Is the concern about how that the young people are falling away from the faith. Mm-hmm. And so from your perspective, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong and that may not, you obviously are a person of strong faith and you come out of a strong faith family, but you have a lot of friends at school and in the community that you have to hear some that are wavering. So from the perspective of, I'm 60 years old, what can I do to help your generation stay faithful? So I want you to think about that question. And as we take a break real quick, I'm going to talk about my friends, Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team, my friends in the real estate community, and we talk about them being a team, but they actually work against each other. They are brokers, separate brokers. Do you figure Barry's the broker for up in Springfield, and he has an office on the Springfield Square now. Exit Realty has an office right downtown, and he is our Springfield broker. And then you have Rebecca, who is the broker up in White House, and she has an office there. And the best way to get in contact with them, guys, well, they're up in Cross Plains. They've been there 27 plus years. Great friends of the community, great friends of this program. They've been one of our sponsors pretty much full time since we got going. But the best way to contact them, there's all kinds of ways, really. You can just give Rebecca a call at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or you can connect with them at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com, or you can just Google them. You can just Google Barry and Rebecca Richards. You go Barry Richards, Exit Realty, and then you go Rebecca Richards, Exit Realty, and you get two different web pages. And Rebecca also has a Facebook page that'll pop up. And that's where you can find out all about them. You can find all about what they do. You can find all about the properties they're selling. There's places on those websites for you to do a search. If you're looking for a particular zip code that you want to work with, all these things that they can help you with, and they are there to serve you. So Google them, look them up, give them a call, go to sellwithbecky.com or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. And if you go and search them, you're going to see all kinds of stuff from them. From the things in Kentucky, surrounding counties, here in Robertson County, properties in Greenbrier. If you want to buy a place up in Greenbrier, so I can teach kiddos, you can do that. But when you connect with Barry and Rebecca, please let them know that U-Turn sent you. Okay, and as we continue on, I'm talking with Alex Castro. He is the son of Danny Castro, who you got to meet when he came in talking about pickleball a couple weeks ago. And he is the cousin of John Cohea. John's going to come rolling in here in a little bit. We think we're going to talk to him as well. But I posed you a question. So what do you say, Alex? What do you think?
So you say that we're losing young people, and what do we need to do to get them? Well, I'll start out with what we don't need to do, and that is employing worldly means to attract them into the church, because you may get them into the church, but using worldly means only gets worldly people into your church.
Okay, can you explain that? Help me understand that better.
The only thing we should use to get people into the church is really the preaching of the gospel, because if we use anything else, then they're not going to be in the church for the right reason. We need to preach the gospel to people, and if they respond to it, then they'll go into the church. So that way we can ensure that the people that are in the church are true believers, and we don't have a church full of goats among the sheep. Okay. And so what do you mean by, because you say not to use worldly means, what would be an example of worldly means then? So like a lot of churches do like they'll have like events and things, which I don't think are bad. I think events can give a lot of publicity to the church, but I don't really like it when people have events and it's like a little bait and switch, right? So
Okay.
that we'll have like an event and then maybe throw a little bit of Jesus in there and then call it there. And then when people decide to join the church, we say, oh, they must be saved now. Even though I don't think the gospel presentation, the little like watered down presentation that we've given them is really sufficient for their salvation. We need a deeper presentation, a more truthful presentation if we really want to make believers out of the people that are coming to our events. I really think it's a disservice to them if we're only bringing them there so we can say that our attendance went up.
Oh, I agree. I mean, if you're just trying to get people in the door just to get the attendance up, then yeah, absolutely. Well, so what about your friends? What do you think with your friends and stuff? What's going on with them? How are they as in regards to if do you invite your friends to church?
So a lot of my friends that are so a lot of my friends don't normally go to church, and in my youth group, I'm going to be preaching for my youth group in a few weeks. So I'm going to invite them to that.
Okay.
Because otherwise they probably wouldn't go to church. Some of my friends go to church, some don't. But I'm going to invite them so they can, because they'd probably go to my church so they can come see me preach. And there, when I'm preaching, I plan to give a thorough gospel presentation, one that gives the full truths necessary for salvation.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. You're going to preach. So what are you preaching on then?
So a lot of people in American church culture think that they prayed a prayer once and that makes them saved now, which is certainly not the case. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be preaching on the necessity for works or fruit to go along with your faith, so that it can prove that your faith is true.
Well, and it's like this: if you are really walking with God, then you're going to want these things. And
Yes,
it's like a lot of the times people will use excuses, and I see what you're saying for sure. That he'll use coming in and taking care of us. I love you, brother. And so you're coming in and talking about how that. I know we hear a lot of people say, well, neither life nor death nor angel nor demon can separate you from the love you have through Christ. And I'm slaughtering that. I'm not quoting it quite accurately, but they'll use that verse to say, well, I was there once, I'm always there, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, if they're going to be using scripture to prove their case, well, I can bring the entire book of James really talks about how if you don't have works to go with your faith, a continual transformation, then your faith isn't valid. Like works of faith that doesn't have works to go along with it is dead. Like 2 Corinthians 5:17 says that if you're in Christ, you're a new creation. So your desires are completely changed, and you want different things than you wanted to. Like living the Christian life isn't doing things that you don't like to do. It's doing things that you do want to do because your mind has been changed from one of a sinful person and you've been born again by the power of God and to change to the things that He likes.
I love it. I love it. So when exactly are you going to be preaching this sermon?
November 1st.
November 1st. Is that a Sunday or?
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday night. So where can people come and hear you?
Just at First Baptist Church, Goodlettsville.
Okay.
I'll be up in the 3rd floor in the youth room.
Okay. Very good. That's awesome. So do you have some of your friends that are planning on coming and supporting you on this?
Yes, I know a few of them should be there.
Okay.
I know a few more probably will go once I invite them.
Okay. Well, very good. What grade are you in? 14. I'm trying to remember what that year. Well, are you a sophomore or freshman? Freshman. So I love that. And how are you liking high school?
It's about the same as middle school, really.
Really? Uh-oh. Are you? Because I'll just tell you, we'll just go there for a minute. Whenever I first started teaching, because I'm a brand new teacher, and my freshman boys especially, they about wore me out. You're a little bit on the wild. You're a little bit of a handful. Would you say that, or are you not that kid?
I can definitely confirm that.
Oh, okay. You're one of those. Do you have a lot of really close friends? Do y'all kind of show out a little bit in school Are you pretty much you get it done and you behave yourself and you don't give the teachers a hard time?
I'm not really looking for trouble.
I love it. Well, I'm just teasing you. You know that, right? I'm just playing. Well, because that was the thing as a new teacher coming in, and if you had a classroom full of freshman boys, it seemed like to be a bit of a harder task keeping them on task. We'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite class in high school?
I like physics.
Oh wow. Okay. So are you math driven? Are you good with math?
I'd say I am. It definitely comes to me pretty easy.
Okay. Well, I can recommend engineering then. I know we need good engineers, electrical engineers. That's a good. Are you interested in any of that, you think, or?
Yeah, I think. Engineer would be a possible career path for me.
It's a good career. It's a good career. But we're talking with Alex Castro, and we're talking about he's going to preach a sermon, y'all, up at the Gillisville First Baptist, right?
Yes, ma'am.
On November 1st. That's Wednesday. It's going to be in the youth area, though, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And about what time is this going to be happening?
Church there starts at 6:15, so I'll probably be preaching around 6:30.
Okay, all right. So, and you've kind of unpacked for us the fact that you really want to share the gospel message with your classmates and that kind of thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And y'all can come on in, John. Y'all can come on in. We're talking with Alex. John's going to come on in and join us. Will you be comfortable sitting right there, sweetheart? So we'll let you do it. And you move the microphone, and we'll get y'all set up. But I'll let you help Danny get the microphone in front of him. And we're just talking with John's cousin, Alex, and now John has joined us, and we're talking about all things faith driven. John, how are you doing?
Good.
Let me turn your microphone on. That might help. How are you doing? So we had planned on just having you guys in here for a half hour, but then I found out my 7:30 folks weren't coming in. So there's an opportunity for us to have both of you guys in. So that works. Mm-hmm. But so do y'all hang out a lot?
Well, we will be today.
What's going on today?
Well, today we're just spending the day with our grandparents, and we're just along for the ride with them.
You're just along for the ride. I love it. So, grandparents got anything great planned for y'all today, you think?
I don't really know. I guess we'll see where it takes us.
Do you know of anything going on, John?
No, man.
Not really. How's school going with you, with college?
Yes.
Okay. So you enjoying it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, are you a good example for your younger cousin here?
I think he is.
Okay. Very good. I love it. Well, we're talking to cousins now. We're talking to Alex Castro and John Cohea. John, one of my former students. Alex is we met because of John and his dad. So I'm excited to have him. So we're going to continue the conversation, and we'll let John jump in whenever he wants. But we're talking specifically about Alex's passion for the gospel. And the fact that Alex wants to share with his peer group, the kiddos that he goes to school with, the kids that he knows, his passion for the gospel message, and he's going to preach a sermon on November 1st at Springfield First Baptist.
Gillisville.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, Gillisville First Baptist. And I think that is wonderful. And so we want to encourage that. And 14 years old, freshman, my goodness. That's a great. What made you want to do this? Was this something that did somebody come up to you and say, "Hey, Alex, I think you need to preach a sermon," or is this something you have been called to, that you feel a calling in your spirit? So what's the story there?
Well, we see in Romans that the gospel is the power of God's salvation, and it needs to be preached. So I was thinking this would just be a way for me to do that. So I asked my youth pastor, and he said he'd be on board with it.
Okay, because then that really kind of sounds to me like a calling then. So would you say? Because I mean, we talk about that, and when I say calling, I mean just in your spirit. I've always felt a call into ministry. Go ahead.
Well, I think we're all really called to minister.
I agree.
The gospel in a certain way. Like Paul says, we have many different spiritual gifts, all of which aid in the spreading of the gospel and God's will towards the world.
I love that. And that's the fact that you recognize that it's a call on all of our lives. And I think that's wonderful. And if you've got the drive to get up in front of people, man, nurture that, because that is such a gift, because so many people freak out when they get up in front of people. And if that's something you're like, I can do that, then do it and just keep on, because the better you get at that. What are you going to say, John? What? Yeah, but I made him get up and make speeches. You made speeches before my class, didn't you? Some, but did you enjoy it?
Yes, ma'am. But at your class, it was nerve-wracking.
It was nerve-wracking?
Yeah.
How come?
Because you've been on the radio, you know how to critique us.
Yeah. Well, it's like, nah. Well, I never thought about it being nerve-wracking just because of my background. But see, I was one of those kids that I never thought anything about getting up in front of people. I mean, I was a public speaker from the moment. I got up in front of people. I didn't think anything about it. I was never nervous about it. And so that's when I see somebody that's not nervous about it, I'm like, man, you go. Because, I mean, if you've got the confidence to get up and do that, that is definitely a gift. Because so many people, if you interview people about, oh, could you get up and make a speech? And they're like, no, I don't want to do it. And so if you're confident to do that, that's awesome, especially at your, have you done some public speaking before, or is this first time out of the gate?
Well, I mean, I've given like speeches for school and stuff, but like this is really the first time outside of that by like my own voluntary wanting to do so.
So you're a freshman. They've already made y'all do speeches in middle school?
Well, we did one. We've done some, and then we did one last week.
Okay. Well, I think that's wonderful. In high school, I expected, but now I'm kind of surprised they had y'all doing speeches in middle school. I didn't know that they had curriculum that got you up in. I mean, you do things that are like you do your programs and things like that, but I've never really thought about making a speech in middle school.
Well, it's not really speeches; they just make you do like little presentations and stuff, but still speaking to the class nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great. Have you got your sermon written yet?
Yes.
You do. Okay. Have you timed it out? Do you know how long it is? Because that's what everybody wants to know. How long is it? How long is it?
It's only about 25 minutes. I'm only going to be speaking for a short time.
That's perfect, though, really, because that gives you the room. If you don't end up, if you go, I'm terrible. I run my mouth too much, and so if you end up saying, "Well, I've got a 30-minute presentation," it'll end up being 35, 40, because there'll always be something that you'll have within your presentation, and you'll think, "Oh, I didn't think about that," and that's just the Holy Spirit leading you down some roads sometimes, and you want to share it, but share it in a organized way to where people they can't follow you. You don't want to chase too many rabbits. So, are you practicing?
Yes, I've got it down. I'd say pretty well.
Okay. Have you done it for your folks, your parents?
Yes, and I've done it a few times. I'm not sure if they're too happy about it now.
It's like yes. Okay, you got it, Alex. You got it. You got this. You're good. So. Well, that's cool. So we're going to continue. We're visiting with Alex Castro and John Cohea, just talking to this age and about the things going on in their life. And, we concern ourselves in the church about why we're using our youth. And I really like the opportunity. I love the opportunity to just talk to some of the youth and say, so what do we need to do differently? And so that's what we're talking about, and just anything else that occurs to us. But I do need to pause for a minute and talk about another one of our sponsors. And let's just go ahead and talk about Veterans Motorplex. If you have not been to the races, guys, you've only got a few more weeks to do that. And it's going to be an opportunity for you to get to the races. And this is the old Highland Rim Speedway. You know where we're talking about, up in Greenbrier. They breathed new life into it with Veterans Motorplex. Jerry took it over. And they've got racing throughout October. It starts in the spring and goes through the fall. And we're just about to come up on the end of the racing season. So if you want to get out to the races, you've got through the end of October to get to the races. Remember, it's happening every Saturday The gates open at 4:00. Racing starts at 6, and it goes until about 9:00. Then they finish. Now they've got events for the kids. They have great concession stands. Some of my students actually work at the concession stand, and it's family friendly. There's no alcohol, which is unusual. Jerry was talking about somebody came in. They're like, "What? We can't buy beer here?" It's a family friendly place, so you don't have to worry about that. If you want to bring your kiddos out, you don't have to worry about any of those influences, and you will have a great time because it's fun watching those cars run around that track. I mean, it's exciting. It's at 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. And the number to call if you want to ask Jerry some questions is 615-643-8725. 615-643-8725. And remember, too, that they've got a $40 ticket that will get up to 6 kids and 2 adults in for $40. And that's a great deal. They're also going to be doing the trunk or treat out of race cars. That's always a good time. So that's all going to be going on. But it's happening at Veterans Motorplex. My friends up in Greenbrier. When you get in touch with them, please go by and let them know that you turned Sunshine. Thank them for sponsoring the show. We are talking with cousins Alex Castro, John Cohea, about their faith and what keeps them faithful. So in that regard that you're talking about, I ask you the question, what do we need to do to make sure we don't lose the kids? What do you do to keep your faith strong? I mean, what do you have a spiritual routine? Okay. Because, I talk a lot about how that I try very hard to give my first fruits in the morning, to not turn on the news, to not focus on worldly things, but to talk about and focus on things that are spiritual first thing in the morning. So what do you do? Do you have a spiritual routine, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is that?
I use the Bible app.
Okay. The Bible app. Good deal.
And I do the plans with my Aunt Amy, his mama. And then I like old hymns.
Okay.
So I just listen to old hymns.
That's one thing about John that people don't realize is he at Greenbrier, we would have I guess it's on Valentine's, isn't it? Where people would sing at lunchtime. And John would sing, and he would sing an old hymn. And I mean, some of those kids probably never heard that. And it'd be the only opportunity they have to hear that. But it's just wonderful. And I just think that's such a blessing. Now, you mentioned his mom. What did you say about what she does? What does she do? You said you do something with his mom, a study or something?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is that you do?
I think they're doing one of the studies on the Bible app. I think it's called the Bible Recap.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the focus of that study?
Okay, a 92-day plan.
A 92-day plan? Okay.
Read all over the Bible.
Okay, and it's just kind of understanding the whole story.
Yes,
okay, that's interesting. That is really interesting. I had, do you, see, I'm real fascinated with studying the Old Testament from the original intent of its writing, written to the Jewish people and all of that kind of thing. And there's a thing that I have learned recently that in synagogues, okay, in Jewish synagogues, they have a plan. You're talking about a 92-day plan. They have a plan in synagogue to read through Torah. Y'all know what Torah is, right?
Yeah.
The first 5 books. Okay. So they have a plan to read through Torah every year in a synagogue if you go into it. And it's the Porshah, they call it. And they'll read a segment from Torah that allows them to read through Torah in a year. Okay? And then everything else, the prophets and the writings and all the rest of the Old Testament scripture, which they call it in the whole Tanakh, they have another schedule that reads the rest of the scripture within 3 years. And so they do that routine going through all of scripture. Do you know what I mean? So they have that routine.
Yes,
and there's a study that believes that the book of Luke may have been written to go along with the portions that are written for weekly study in synagogue. That Luke itself, if you put it alongside what would be read in synagogue about the Old Testament, about the Torah, and you put alongside these sections of Luke, there's some scholars that believe that Luke was written as a Porshah companion for synagogue. Have any of you guys ever studied any of that stuff? And I mean, that's just like, when you look and dig into the overview of Scripture, it's fascinating. It's It's deep and it's wide. There's a lot. You could study for the rest of your life and never get it all in.
Oh, yeah.
You're only 14. So, but that's fascinating. And so now you said that this is his mom that does the study. Now, why is your mom doing that? What's got your mom on this? Is it just something she felt, compelled to do to lead this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing that right now. My study is kind of all over the place.
Okay.
But she's doing the Bible recap with John because I guess they just found something to do together.
Okay. Well, that's really cool. And so it's just the two of you. It's not like a big group. When you mentioned that, I thought, well, is she doing this with a group from church? It's just the two of you.
Yeah, it's just the two of us.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. So that's his routine. What is your routine to keep you in the Word? Do you have like a daily thing that you do?
So, I mean, I normally am able to study at night after.
Is that better time? Yeah.
Yeah, because in the morning I normally need to get ready for school and everything.
Yeah.
So at night, normally from about 9 to 10, I'll either read the Bible or some other source or just read something else. Like when we were on our road trip, just this past few days, I was reading a lot of this book by R.C. Sproul called Truths We Confess, which was a kind of an explanation of the Westminster Confession, which is used by the Presbyterians.
Okay. So what did you learn from that? That's fascinating. What compelled you to read that? I'm interested. That's an interesting thing for a 14-year-old to pick up to read, right?
Mm-hmm. So
what made you want to read that?
Well, I mean, just studying the Bible, you want to seek the counsel of people wiser than you and much more mature in their faith, and that's the same thing with such a expositor as R.C. Sproul and the Westminster divines who wrote the Confession. Okay.
Very interesting. I mean, this is fascinating. I love having these kinds of conversations with young people because it gives me, I'm not one of these people that feel like, that we're, some people will, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. They're concerned about the youth and what's going to happen to the faith and all of this. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're coming back on fire. I really do. I think there's a revival in your generation. Do you hear that from anybody?
Some, but not a lot.
Okay. But, well, maybe we need to be saying it more and encourage y'all more, you think?
Yes, ma'am. What did you say, Alex?
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, if people are falling away, I think that if people all throughout the church are falling away, that may very well just be a good thing because it really reveals the real church and gets rid of all of those who aren't really in the church, and it kind of purifies it in a way, if you know what I'm talking about.
Well, when you say, but we of course don't want people to fall away and stay away. But maybe if they,
certainly not. Yeah,
if they step back, and then it maybe reveals to them what's missing. Maybe I think that's what you're trying to say, isn't it? Yeah, it's not that we want people to fall away and stay away. We want them to step back from the facade.
Yes,
mask,
just like that.
Put on. Yes, I understand what you're saying exactly. But and then that is the thing. I mean, are you guys paying attention to what's happening in Israel right now? With the war right at the moment. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I'm just curious.
I know there's something going on between them and the Hamas group, but I don't really know any details or anything.
Okay, it's pretty brutal, and I mean it's pretty rough. Have you been following what's happening in Israel?
I just found out on Facebook.
Yeah,
I haven't.
Well, and it's one of those things that do you feel? I mean, I feel a great connection with Israel because that's
where Jesus came from.
Yeah, exactly. And so and what's happening in that, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is when you see people that don't try to hide who they are anymore, then people can't deny that it's evil. Does that make sense? People you talk about taking off the facade, taking off the mask of people that are in church that are really not part of they're not really living the life they should. they take the mask off so you can really see what's going on. Well, that's what's happened in Israel. The people who are trying, Hamas, who's been trying to pretend, oh no, we really don't. They've taken the mask off and they've shown what evil really is. And so, that I think we're in an age where you can't, because of the media age that we're in, and there's so many cameras and so much, that is seen. It's just, you can't really turn away from it. You have to show it for what it's real, right? You think? What do you think, guys?
Well, on your theme of people in the church falling away and taking off their facade, I mean, it's kind of like an unsaved person in the church is kind of like a wolf in a cage. They're a wolf, but they're not real. They're not like a sheep. They're not part of Jesus' flock, but they're like put in the cage of obeying the laws of God when that's really not what they want to do.
Okay. In other words, they're there. I mean, you see people all the time that they're pretending. They're just pretending to be walking. I mean, I was one of these people that, when I was young, I went through the motions, not really having as strong a faith as I needed to. And so I had to kind of step back to relearn it myself. And so I went down a journey like that. And, you'll hear from a lot of people that go down some interesting journeys, some crazy journeys sometimes that brings them back to the faith stronger. And they appreciate more what they have, right?
Yeah, I think there's actually a big danger in growing up in the church because you can just be born into it and never come to the point of actual repentance and just think that because you're in the church, you're saved. Now, that's not to say that the church is a bad thing. It's just that when that's all you know, you'd never really get to see like that you need to repent and believe to actually be saved.
I love, in what you're saying about, there is an illustration that I used to do I would do apologist stuff. You know the word apologist, when people are to prove God in the Bible, so I did a lot of apologist speaking. And there was an illustration that I used to use that what you said reminds me of it, as I would say, if you grew up in faith and you wear your faith like an heirloom, like somebody hands you down something special that belonged to your great grandparents, and it could be something like maybe a ring, a special ring that they had, and all it is just, okay, that's great grandfather's ring, but you don't know the story behind it. It's yours, but is it really yours? Does that make sense? It's like you wear your faith like a family heirloom, but you don't really know the story, and you don't really know the meaning and the sacrifice that went to hand that down to you. Does that make, and so that's what we have to fight against, I think. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's really comes down again to presenting the gospel and making sure that people are actually saved.
Well, and continuing to look at it from the perspective of being in church and being there and seeing what you've been taught, but also going, have I learned all that God has for me to learn? Do you see that part of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because, I mean, oftentimes we go through the motions of our Bible class routine and we never really see the whole picture. You follow me? That's why I love this overview that you and your aunt are doing, kind of looking at the Bible as a whole, God's entire story, right? So let me do a break. I want y'all to think. We've got about 10 minutes, okay? Y'all kind of seem to be running out of steam, so I want y'all to take a break, talk amongst yourselves about some things we can talk about, and I've got some things I can bring to it, but I'd love for y'all to talk more. So I've never run out of things to say. You don't know me. I was at my friend's house last night, and I think I scared him half to death. I had so much to say. But I'm kidding. But we do need to pause and talk about, we got several things we need to talk about. We got to talk about Crooked Eye Tommy's Blues Fest is happening this weekend. Oh my goodness. Are you going? I am. And I can't wait. And it's going to be so much fun. Crooked Eye Blues Fest, guys. This is a happening Saturday. And gates are going to open at noon. Music starting at 1:00. And it is going to be a great time. Some great acts. I am so excited. I am so excited about the headliner, which is Thule Bray, I think is her name, and they say she is just absolutely fabulous. She's going to be the last act on the Crooked Eye is about halfway through the schedule. We have got Thomas Love that's coming. That is from Croatia, guys. This is the guy. That at least I think I've got his name right. I'm not really sure. I'll have to get with Tommy to make sure we've got our get with Tommy to get me completely information on him, because we look like we're going to have him on the air with us next Tuesday. He's going to be in town. He's actually getting into town tomorrow, and they're going to be doing some recording and different things like that. But this is the guy that invited Tommy to Croatia to do a tour, and so he's coming. And he is bringing his guitar player with him, and it's going to be awesome. But they're going to be there. So, and I believe we're going to have him on the show next Tuesday. Billy Vogel, Mayor Vogel, I talked to him yesterday, and he normally comes in the Tuesday after the commissioners meeting. Well, now he's going to pause a week and come in that following week so that I can have our musician from Croatia on from the Blues Festival. But you can hear him at the Blues Festival this Saturday. Remember, the tickets are on sale right now through Eventbrite. They're $15. They're going to be $20 at the door. Tommy does say, if you possibly can, please bring cash. Now, they'll have a way to digitally get you in to take digital payment, but it's just so much easier when you've got people coming in a gate to take and work with cash. If you've got it, they got a couple of food vendors are going to be there. They're going to have some arts and crafts that are going to be there. It's going to be a great time. And this is this Saturday at the Robertson County Fairgrounds. That's where it's all happening. This is the second annual Crooked Eye Blues Fest. It's going to be a good time. You got to be there, guys. I cannot wait to get there. It's going to be an awesome time, and looking forward to seeing all y'all there. And I also want to remind you about my friends Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Anything you need for the garden. I mean, if you're looking for we're not to the place. We'll be doing the gardening and putting the vegetable gardens in and all that in the spring. And if you did not do that this past year, you want to make sure and plan right now to do all of your plant beds and things like that from Corbin, because it's just the difference in the way their plants are rooted. They're so healthy, so well rooted that you are just going to be so thrilled with the way these plants are going to look throughout the season. I know Brian Pulley says he gets all of his gardening plants from Corbin now, and it makes all the difference. And he was talking about his big flower baskets that he got in the spring. As long as you keep them watered and take care of them, he says they look just as good as the day he got them. And that's the kind of quality you get from Corbin. This is a really good time to go and pick up the things you need for fall. They still have a few mums. They've got some pansies. Those are great cold weather flowers that will look beautiful in your landscape until we get those hard frost. You can also go and get perennials. Now's the time to get perennials in the ground, because then they'll start popping up in the spring with that beautiful color for your yard and your garden, and you will be thrilled. Also, houseplants. If you like succulents and those kinds of things, they've got just a ton of those. And they also are your CBD source. If you're looking for local CBD products, they are your source. Everything they have is produced from the plants her brother Bill grows, from the salves to the oils and the things that I use for my arthritis. Cannot say enough about that and all the handcrafted items from Miss Jane that are there in the store. They're open Monday through Saturday from 10 to 4, and then Sunday from 1 to 4. If you want to stop by and see them, they're at 4920 Highway 161, 4920 Highway 161, or you can give them a call, 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185, and always, please let them know U-Turn sent you. Okay, guys, I gave you a challenge. Got a few more minutes here. Do you have something specific you want to talk about as we kind of wrap up our time together? Y'all point cousins like, you go. Okay, Alex, you were the one that, you go. John can come in here anytime. You're in school. And the door's always open. If you want to come back in, you're on breaks, you've got my number. You message me and say, hey, I want to come on and I've got something I want to share. Okay? And anytime you can come in. So what do you want to say as we get ready to wrap it up?
Well, me and John weren't really able to pick something specific out, so you can just whatever you want to. Okay.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Last year, our church went through a hard time with this affiliation.
Oh, with the United Methodists and their liberal.
Okay. But are y'all not in I thought you were in the Baptist church. Do y'all go to church together?
No, I am a Methodist.
Oh, okay.
And they are Baptist.
Okay. But it's all Jesus, y'all, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we have to find our unity. And so, it's hard when we go through church stuff. I've got friends that have had churches that have, they disagree and they go this way and go this way and all these things. And number one, as long as we keep our eyes on what the gospel message is,
Yes.
first and foremost. And sometimes even, and I don't know any specifics about your situation, okay? Because I don't know much about it. I know there's been some conflicts, but when I hear about people, as long as you're following God's law and the gospel message,
Yes.
if you have things you cannot agree on, Paul and Barnabas went their separate ways because they couldn't agree on it, but they both preached Jesus. So that's what I tell people. If you just if you're just gonna fight, well, then maybe y'all do need to go over here and go over here. I want unity. I mean, that's what God wants is unity. And I think that we have to remember that we don't always have to agree. If it's not something that's outside of God's message, then we're supposed to submit to each other out of reverence for Jesus. So that means that sometimes you're not going to get your way. Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, in Revelation, Jesus is only getting married to one bride. That's one church.
There you go.
So there's really only one church that's the real one, and it's the spiritual and visible church that unites all believers, no matter what denomination they may be in, or where they live, or when they live.
Yeah. Well, I encourage everybody too, if you have questions about that, how we got here from what the early church was, there's a book by Dr. Bruce Shelley, and it's Church History in Plain Language. And it is one of the best, comprehensive, just complete look at church history and how we got from the early church to where we are. And it is, I can't recommend it enough. He's passed, but it's a fabulous book. And it's not some people say it's a heavy, very academic read. I don't think it is. It's something that was recommended to me, and I just love it. But if you want to understand how we kind of got here and how we've got to unify under that banner of this is Jesus' church, like you said, he has one bride, and I love that. And that's a good place for us to kind of hang this on, is to say we just got to work towards that unity, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I want to encourage you. I think it's just so admirable at 14, getting up in the pulpit, and in youth group. It's going to be a youth group pulpit,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes.
So reiterate exactly what you're doing and what your message is going to be when you do that.
Well, I'm preaching on the necessity for, firstly, your own conversion in your salvation. You can't really just be in church and be saved. And then I'm also going on the necessity for works or actions to go along with your faith to prove that your faith is real.
So there is a song. Do you ever listen to Stephen Curtis Chapman? Do you know who Stephen Curtis Chapman is? He's a Christian artist, but he's a little bit older than y'all.
Well, like John, I only listen to the very old hymns.
Really? Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. Well, here's one you need to look up. It's by Stephen Curtis Chapman, and it's called "The Change." What about the change? And it is a great song, and it is Stephen Curtis Chapman. I think had 50 number one hits in Christian contemporary music, and he's amazing, and I mean just a godly man. But he has a song and it's years. I mean, it's probably 25, 30 years old. I don't know, but it's been out a long time. But it's about what about the change, and it's talking about how did you put that little fish on the back of your car, but do you really walk with Jesus?
Yeah.
You can wear the cross and put the little, the little fish symbol that people have on their car, and then they act a fool in traffic. It's like, I don't think you're acting like somebody that's following Jesus there, y'all. But, so it's about what's the change in the life. It's like when you put Jesus on, there's supposed to be a change in you that's evident. So would that be more along those lines, you think?
Yep. And I'm certainly speaking about the change that must take place for you to be really saved, and then a lot of people in church will probably realize that they haven't measured up to it, and then I'm going to present that despite their sin, they still can be saved if they turn away from their sins and go towards God and devote their life to Him. Then they can be saved from their sins.
Okay, very good. And this is Alex Castro, 14 years old, with this kind of a message. His cousin, John Cohea. And how old are you?
18.
I wasn't sure. He just graduated from Greenbrier High School. Alex is at Pope John Paul. They are Greenbrier boys, y'all, by the way, and super proud of y'all. Thank you for coming in, and the door is always open. Has this been a good experience for you?
I definitely say it was.
Awesome. Very good. I'm so glad you guys got to come. And John, thank you for coming in and helping us out since we didn't have our 7:30 guest today. I appreciate it. Anything you want to say as we head out here? We're about to wrap up.
I am still coming in to share my DNA results with you.
Say that one more time, honey.
Not-
the DNA test. That's right. I forgot about that. When do you expect that in?
I don't know. I am waiting.
Okay. He's waiting. He did a DNA test. And so that was Gwen and I were talking to you, and we said, okay, we want to know what your DNA is. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Because that's always fascinating because you think you have this background and then it turns out it's not quite what you thought it was. So we'll look forward to that. So you let me know. Any parting thoughts, Alex, as we head out?
No, not really. I just really enjoyed our conversation about, yeah.
Me too. Well, thank you very much. And you do good in school. And when you're on break and you want to come back on, I want to hear how the sermon goes. Okay.
All right.
And keep inviting your friends because that's the only way. That's the only way we get them there, guys, is to say, people will say, well, nobody ever invited me to church. Don't let that be you. Make sure that you're inviting people and saying, hey, we got something going on here in our congregation and we want you to be a part of it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So go and hear Alex, November 1st, Goodlettsville First Baptist, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Goodlettsville First Baptist, and about 6:15 up in the youth group?
Yes. Now, that is 6:15 p.m.
Okay, 6:15 p.m. Yes, not a.m. Not a.m. We don't want to get you there in the morning. Very good. Thank you guys for joining us. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a great day.
How can we sing